and excited to dive in and talk about Pinata as well and what you guys are working on. To kick things off, Kyle, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and your backstory and what kind of led you into the Web3 space. Everyone's got an interesting story given the fact that it's fairly non-traditional. So what's it been like for you?
Yeah, so I got into crypto in 2015 with Bitcoin, and then I was following the space and learned about smart contracts in 2016 and Ethereum, and that really got me engaged in the ecosystem. By 2017, I decided I'm just going to quit my job and jump into crypto full time. Didn't know what I was going to do, other than I knew I wanted to start a company. And so when I quit my job, I took a year and I was just kind of flying around, going to hackathons, competing, learning the technology, and on the side started a consulting company where we were doing smart contracts and building applications. And through that experience with the consulting and the hackathons, we eventually found what became Pinata and the problem that we solved. But before that, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to start a company and try to find something in the space, and ultimately ended up launching Pinata in 2018. And it was just an incredible journey, both to get there and then ever since.
Excellent. So what's Pinata all about? I mean, it sounds like a pinata, but what are you guys aiming to do? What's your core mission or ethos?
Yeah, so what Pinata is at its core is IPFS pinning infrastructure. IPFS stands for the InterPlanetary File System. We're just file storage for crypto at the end of the day. And when we launched in 2018, we were way too early. The space wasn't actually storing that much data off-chain. So when we launched, we didn't really have customer fit. But when NFTs came about and started taking off in 2020, those images, those videos, whatever the NFTs ultimately represented, they needed a place to live. And Pinata ended up being that place. And so where we're at today is if you need file storage in crypto, a significant portion of the space uses us, whether it's NFTs or meme coins or AI or any kind of token data. People use us because we have a really simple cryptographic property that's associated with us that ensures that the files are what they're supposed to be related to the blockchain. Versus in a Web 2 world, if you go out and store your data, you basically can't prove that data is what it's supposed to be. So what we have in this ecosystem is a bunch of companies that are building, on-chain, and then they're using something like AWS S3 to store their files. And when you do that, you lose all of your underlying cryptographic properties of the blockchain by putting it on AWS. And we simplify and solve that problem and ensure ultimately that the files associated with whatever token are what they're supposed to be. So it's more secure, more auditable. You can believe the data underneath related to the tokens.
Interesting. What would you say is the biggest draw on decentralized file storage today? I see a lot of different AI projects in the space now, and they have a lot of heavy data consumption. NFTs obviously wouldn't exist without file storage on the back end. What's kind of drawing most of that right now, and the, I think, need for it in the space?
Yeah, and so we kind of look at the space a little bit differently. So many people are probably familiar with decentralized file storage. They might not exactly know what it means, but there's names like Filecoin and Arweave and others in the space. We think of it as crypto file storage, and the difference between that is with crypto file storage, we're really ensuring and managing files based on tokens and wallets on chain, whereas decentralized file storage is focused more on okay, how do we store this data and ensure that it's pinned across the world? We're more focused on ensuring that this data is number one, authentic and provable, but you can only access it based on whether you hold the token or not. Like I mentioned, the first use case was NFTs, and that's where we really started taking off. Meme coins is obviously just an extension of that. But ultimately where it's going is what's really happening, whether it's with NFTs or other use cases, is we're proving that the files are what they're supposed to be. And how that's important with something like AI is when they're training these models, they need to actually know that the data is real, right? And you need to be able to verify and prove that. And so what's happening is AI and crypto are converging from a technological standpoint to verify that the data is real. That's training the models. And then on the flip side, you have AI is going to be transacting on chain, and they're going to be, brokering deals with each other. You need to be able to prove what the outputs of those transactions are. And the way you're ultimately going to do that is with crypto file storage, and then ultimately the transactions that are taking place on chain.
Interesting. Any specific use cases that maybe you can mention that really highlights kind of Pinata in action? Any projects, any NFTs in particular that you like?
Yeah, so our biggest customers tend to be NFT marketplaces, so OpenSea, Magic Eden, and Blur. There's a long tail of NFT marketplaces that use us. The individual projects themselves, the NFTs, also use us. And the reason they use us is scale. And ultimately, it's a consumer app, and you need to be able to, you want to see that image or that video, whatever your NFT ultimately is. And so you have to be fast and scalable, and we focus on that. The next iteration of that was obviously meme coins, and Pump.fun is somebody that uses us, and we kind of have this long tail of meme coin, both marketplaces and the launchers of the meme coins use us underneath. And so that's the obvious use case for us. What a lot of people don't know is we're actually used for like metadata associated with tokens. So any kind of information that a token wants to share with everybody, they'll typically put it on us and then attach it to the token. And then exchanges and dexes and indexers and all these other players in the ecosystem will pull that data to get more information about whatever's ultimately happening underneath. So in some ways, we're like a media company in making sure that the files are served at scale, similar to like an Instagram. And then in other ways, we're like a financial data company where we're supplying and ensuring that there's information related to the tokens underneath.
And what brings you to Permissionless? Are you guys looking for more of these projects, more of these NFTs and meme coins to kind of bring on and fulfill this file storage need for? Are you looking for partners? Are you looking for VC capital? Everyone's kind of got a different story ball here. What's yours?
Yeah, so from our perspective, we're looking for anybody that is generating files related to transactions and tokens. And what we're seeing is it's going a lot more enterprise. When we started Pinata, we were focused on the individual developer and these developers that were building, what turned into OpenSea or what turned into NFT projects or meme coins. Where it's going now is all of these tokens have all of this kind of like emissions that are happening related to the transactions. And so what we're here for is just talking to whether it's wallets, exchanges, or anybody else in the ecosystem that is creating a token, is trying to figure out, okay, how can we help you manage all of that data, all of those files in a Web3 native way that is token first, it's wallet first, and ultimately, just make it really, really easy for you. So basically looking for customers, always looking for customers. And it's been a great group of people that we've seen so far.
Excellent. Where can people learn more about Pinata? You guys have a website, socials, you have a community. Where would people go to get more information?
Yeah, best place is obviously Pinata.cloud. Otherwise, across all of socials and things like that, it's Pinata.cloud. And yeah, jump in and say hi.
I want to do a quick little rapid fire session, a couple of quick questions. You can give me a short response in return, and then we'll wrap up the episode. First one is, who is your favorite Web3 personality right now?
I haven't thought about that. So the thing is like I just mentioned, listening to Constantine from Block Damon, like the way that he operates, it's very subdued. But that's like more of my style. I think it's very like hard to be subdued in Web3 and in crypto when everybody's so loud, right? And the way that he navigates is just highly impressive to me. And like I said, is kind of like a role model from a founder and entrepreneur perspective.
And then other than Pinata, do you have a favorite Web3 project, company, startup that you think is doing some great stuff right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always I've always really liked Uniswap. They've always been fun, which kind of matches our brand, you know. And so I like them from that perspective. They have obviously a real business, doing real things from a DEX perspective, and so they've always been a company that I've admired and really appreciated.
Alt season 2025. Is this something that's still on the table, or are we kind of past that point? I think everyone's kind of wondering. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, so from my perspective, I think obviously more people are going to be coming into crypto because of stablecoins. And there's going to be yield products and all of that kind of stuff going on. What I think ultimately is going to happen is people coming in for stablecoins are not looking for risk, right? And so I do think that like the blue chips in crypto are going to be much more important. I don't necessarily think alts are going to have like a huge run, but you never know in crypto. I never predicted the NFT boom in 2021 and 2022. I didn't predict the meme coin boom. The only thing I could say is like just make sure you're in the space and ultimately having fun and like be curious, obviously.
And then what would you say the theme is for this summer? Is it stable coins, like stable summer? Some people think it might be DeFi or decentralized AI or something else. What do you think?
Yeah, stable summer, definitely. It's not as like sexy, unfortunately. But like I do think that from a narrative perspective, is super important. I do think with like Circle IPOing, some wallets being acquired, things like that. It's just leading to more traditional kind of Web2 or financial companies coming into the space, and it's not going to be the same flavor of people as the original crypto crew. It's great to mainstream, but you also lose some of that fun early days.
Yeah, and there's a final quick thought on stable coins. I want to get your opinion on as well, because it seems like obviously it is like stable coin summer. It's been so popular the past year. So, like you mentioned with Circle getting its IPO, and then we have PayPal and their stable coin, Bank of America announcing something, JP Morgan Chase. You got the BlackRocks of the world, obviously, that are pushing this stuff like crazy. It feels like stable coins are coming to mainstream a lot faster than the rest of the crypto space. And I think some of it makes sense and is self-explanatory because it's an easier way to get in. There's also a lot of push for yield generating stable coins or yield bearing opportunities. Just kind of curious, maybe where you think the future of stable coins might go from here in terms of being a really good bridge piece of utility into the space.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's very obvious that all transactions are going to be on chain in the future, and stable coins are the way that we're going to ultimately do that. It underneath, a consumer is not going to know that they're using a stable coin, but all of your transactions in every single app across the internet and in the real world are going to be stable coins at some point. And I think that's ultimately where we're going. The gap that we have, I think, today is we don't have a lot of stuff that we can actually buy with these stable coins yet. And so we do need more players, and it is a network effect thing where, you can come in and you can buy like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but like if I want to go out and transact and buy a coffee, like I really can't do that yet. And so I think that's where the gaps are in the ecosystem. But like to me, it is so apparently obvious that stable coins, US dollars on chain is like the future of global finance. It's just we do need more things to buy. So it's like, yes, now we're supplying stable coins into the market. Now we need like people to accept them, right? Outside of just the crypto ecosystem and spill out into the regular world, if you will.
Kyle, it's been a pleasure having you on today. And I appreciate the conversation. Learned a lot about what you guys are doing with Pinata. This idea of file storage, decentralized file storage, what that means for the space, I think is very critical. So keep up all the good work. Enjoy the rest of Permissionless. Let me know how things are going as well throughout the rest of the year. Maybe we'll hop on and do a part 2. Maybe we can do one in person at some point again. But take care, man, and enjoy.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Likewise.